Something happened at Skinwalker Ranch that nobody saw coming. Not the scientists, not the investigators, not even Brandon Fugal, the man who owns the property and has spent millions trying to unlock its secrets. In the early hours of what should have been a routine investigation, something was detected on the eastern perimeter of the ranch that triggered an immediate shutdown of all field operations. The equipment recorded it, the data confirmed it, and within hours, officials connected to the investigation gave a single order that stunned everyone who heard it. The property was to be sealed off. No access, no exceptions. Scientists who have spent years studying the ranch went silent. Crew members who had been on the land just days before were turned away at the gate. And the reason given was so unusual, so unlike anything that had come out of the ranch before, that even seasoned researchers who thought they had seen everything were left without answers. What was discovered? Why did it force a complete shutdown? And what does it mean for everything we thought we knew about the most mysterious piece of land in America? That is what we are going to break down today, piece by piece. Because when you look at the full picture of what has been happening at Skinwalker Ranch over the last several months, the sealed-off property is not a surprise. It is the inevitable result of a chain of events that has been building for a very long time. Stay with us. This one matters. To understand why the sealing of Skinwalker Ranch sent shockwaves through the scientific community, you have to understand what this property actually is, and why it has defied every attempt to explain it. The ranch sits on 512 acres, in the Uinta Basin of northeastern Utah, a stretch of land that has been at the center of reported paranormal activity for decades. But calling what happens there paranormal does not quite capture it. What has been documented at Skinwalker Ranch goes beyond ghost sightings or strange lights in the sky. Researchers have recorded electromagnetic anomalies that appear and vanish without explanation. They have documented incidents involving livestock that follow no pattern of known predator behavior. They have measured radiation spikes in specific areas of the property that appear and disappear without any identifiable source. And they have captured aerial phenomena on multiple cameras simultaneously that move in ways that defy the physics of known aircraft. The ranch was purchased by Robert Bigelow in 1996 after the Sherman family, who had lived there, reported years of terrifying encounters. Bigelow funded a team of scientists through his National Institute for Discovery Science, who spent years on the property. What they found was never fully released to the public. In 2016, Brandon Fugal acquired the ranch and brought in a new team with new equipment and a commitment to document everything on camera. What followed was a television series that showed millions of viewers genuine scientific methodology being applied to one of the most bizarre locations on the planet. But what the cameras showed was only a fraction of what was actually happening. Crew members have spoken privately about events that never made it to air. Scientists connected to the project have hinted at data sets that were considered too sensitive to release. And now, with the property sealed off after the latest discovery, the question that everyone in the research community is asking is the same one that has been circling the ranch for 30 years. What is actually happening on that land? Because whatever it is, it just escalated. The event that triggered the sealing of the property did not happen suddenly. It was the culmination of a series of anomalous readings that the research team had been tracking for weeks. Sources close to the investigation have described a pattern of detections in the northeastern section of the ranch, an area that has historically produced some of the most intense and unexplainable activity ever recorded on the property. The specific instruments involved in detecting the triggering event are not ones most people would associate with paranormal investigation. These were not ghost hunting meters or night vision cameras. These were scientific-grade instruments designed to detect changes in gravitational fields, electromagnetic radiation, and atmospheric pressure at a granular level. The kind of equipment that physicists use, the kind of data that gets peer-reviewed. And what those instruments recorded in the northeastern section of the ranch in the days leading up to the shutdown was so far outside the expected range of any known natural phenomenon that the lead scientists on the project escalated the findings immediately. Within 24 hours of that escalation, a decision was made at a level above the production team and above the ranch's own research division. The property would be closed to all personnel not directly involved in analyzing the data. No filming, no visits, no exceptions. People who had been working at the ranch for years received the same notification as the general public. The gates were closed, and the scientists who had been out in the field collecting samples and running tests in the areas where the anomalous readings were recorded were pulled back and asked to submit all their equipment for immediate review. One individual who had been present during the initial detection described it simply. They said that whatever the instruments picked up was not something any of them had seen before, and that is not a statement anyone connected to Skinwalker Ranch makes lightly. These are people who have spent years watching things that should not exist happen in front of their eyes. When they say they saw something new, you listen. The details of what was specifically detected in the northeastern section of the ranch have not been officially released. But based on what has been confirmed through sources close to the investigation and through the patterns visible in the data that has been made available, a picture is beginning to form. And it is a picture that explains not just why the property was sealed, but why the scientists involved reacted the way they did. The readings that triggered the shutdown appear to be centered on a subsurface anomaly, something beneath the ground in the northeastern section of the property that is producing measurable effects on multiple types of detection equipment simultaneously. This matters because individual instruments can malfunction. They can produce false readings. They can be affected by interference from other electronic sources. But when multiple instruments of different types, measuring different things, all register an anomaly at the same time in the same location, the possibility of equipment error becomes statistically negligible. What the team appears to have found is a source of energy beneath the surface of the ranch that does not correspond to any known geological formation in the Uinta Basin. Ground-penetrating radar has been used extensively on the property over the years. Previous scans have produced results that were never fully explained. But the readings associated with the current discovery go beyond what any previous scan has captured. And the fact that this energy source is producing effects on instruments designed to measure gravitational fields is the detail that has the scientific community most unsettled. Gravitational anomalies of the type being described do not occur naturally in environments like the one at Skinwalker Ranch. They are not the result of mineral deposits or underground water movement. They require a source, and identifying that source, understanding what it is and where it came from, is now the central mission of the team that has been given access to the sealed property. What they find could rewrite everything. Brandon Fugal has never been a man who shies away from difficult conversations about the ranch. Since purchasing the property in 2016, he has been remarkably transparent about the strangeness of what happens there. Even when transparency has invited ridicule from people who have never set foot on the land, he has sat in front of cameras and described experiences that would strain the credibility of almost anyone else. He has funded research that most investors would consider commercially irrational. And he has consistently said that his goal is not to prove anything to skeptics, but to find the truth, whatever that truth turns out to be. The sealing of the property has placed Fugal in a position he has not been in before. He is the owner of land that his own research team has just determined is too sensitive to operate on normally. He is the man responsible for the safety of everyone who works there, and he is the person who ultimately has to decide what comes next, how much of the data gets released, who gets access to the property going forward, and whether the findings are significant enough to involve government agencies or independent scientific bodies in a more formal way. People who know Fugal have described him in recent weeks as deeply focused, not frightened, not overwhelmed, but carrying the weight of what the discovery means, in a way that is visible to those around him. One person close to him described a conversation in which Fugal said that this is the moment the ranch has been building toward since the day he bought it. Not a moment of answers, a moment of questions so large that they demand a completely different level of response.